Welcome everyone to the Nerd Nook. I'm your host Evan Teagle. With me, like always, is Noah Bailey. So, in news that is both sad and also not exactly surprising, the next two Avengers movies have officially been delayed. Originally, Avengers Doomsday was going to come out next May. It has been delayed to next December, and the same is also true for Secret Wars.
Oh, I mean, not super surprising, but still I mean, it's sad, but it's also like maybe this will give us more time to put things together, I guess,
Yeah.
because we're kind of still at that point where things are slowly starting to meander together, like the whole Thunderbolts thing connecting with Captain America 4 and apparently Fantastic Four later this year kind of
Mhm.
sparks some okay, looks like we're finally putting things, to a certain point, but there's still a lot of other factors that have yet to intersect with anything relevant. So
Yeah, but here's the like. So I'm of two minds with this. One, I am actually very glad this is happening because Avengers Doomsday didn't start filming until March of this year
mhm.
and is going to come out next May. A lot of movies, especially nowadays, they do film a year in advance. That's completely normal, especially a big action movie like this where a lot of the like previs and CG stuff is already kind of done even like well before the movie even starts filming. So it wouldn't theoretically not be completely unreasonable for a Marvel movie to start filming in March and then come out the next May. However, with just how big this movie is going to be, with how many actors, how many set pieces, how much is going on, I always kind of got the feeling that this was gonna be tight anyway. Um, maybe they could get the initial shooting done in 6 months, and then finish the CG in the next 8 months or whatever. But that I don't know. I think that'd be cutting it tight. So I don't necessarily mind them delaying it till December just so they can do any reshoots they need to do, fix, because apparently there's a rumor that the script isn't even like completely finalized yet. They're just kind of like shooting as the scenes are written. Again, that could be false. They could completely whatever. But like,
I really hope so.
yeah, that has happened with other stuff.
Ugh.
Rise of Skywalker comes to mind. Apparently, the script wasn't done when they started filming, so that
Shocker!
I'm not saying that's why that movie is bad, but it didn't help. So yeah, giving them time to actually make the movie, I think, is overall very good. However, it's going to be a little awkward because I think for the past even couple of years, I think Disney Marvel has really banked on those movies coming out in their respective Mays because almost every other Marvel movie outside of Fantastic Four and the next Spider-Man has been taken off of the production schedule as far as like hard release date schedule. There's others that are in pre-production. There's others that may or may not actually be filming, like Blade or Doctor Strange 3 or Shang-Chi 2 or whatever. But as of right now, the way the way the schedule is, we're gonna get Fantastic Four in July, and then we're not gonna get another Marvel movie until next July with Spider-Man 4.
Yeah.
When that could have been a good opportunity to have something like a Doctor Strange 3 to, finish up his storyline and lead into the next Avengers thing.
Yeah, or
Have
Shang-Chi
Shang-Chi 2.
too.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
I mean, something. I mean, because especially with the ones that have, I mean, a lot of these we haven't heard anything from at
Mm-hmm.
all. Like, I mean, we don't know what's going on with Doctor Strange. We don't know what's going on with Shang-Chi. We don't know, Moon Knight's still somewhere. Miss Marvel and
Yeah,
the Marvels. Okay, what's the follow up for that? I
exactly.
mean,
The Young Avengers, that feel like
yeah,
project
is that
that should have
happening
happened by
still?
now.
Is that gonna? I mean, like, maybe I don't know. Like,
Maybe it was always the plan to have that storyline continue in Avengers Doomsday, but I think that's gonna be another just another thing that movie's gonna be doing that has to juggle, and I don't know if it can juggle all of that effectively. We'll see. It would have been nice if that could have been more fleshed out before the movie came out. If they had just not announced release dates for these movies, back in 2021 or 2, whenever they originally announced these movies and announced them as both coming out in 2025, which was always funny to me. Like, I understand, wanting to be ambitious and like, but thinking that Avengers Doomsday, or at the time Kang Dynasty, was going to come out in May of 25, and then Secret Wars was going to come out that November was always bonkers to me. And it wasn't 2 weeks before they delayed Secret Wars, like, obviously. But if they had just said, "Oh, these are the next Avengers movies," and not gave them a hard date ever, and we could eventually work towards them, I think that would have been good for Marvel as a whole to like not feel like they are pigeonholed by if they have ideas. They're like, "Oh, we can't do that before the next Avengers thing." I don't know.
uh, yeah, I'm not really sure. It's really, I don't know, man. Like, I want to believe there's a plan, but it's really starting to feel like there kind of is.
Yeah.
I mean, not saying there isn't, but it's like it feels very everywhere, disjointed. Like, are we really? I don't know.
Like, it's gonna be super weird if the Fantastic Four movie, the after credit scene of that, is gonna lead, like, theoretically leads directly into Avengers Doomsday,
Yeah,
and
which
then
it most likely will.
yeah, that makes sense. Victor Doom is a Fantastic Four villain,
Yeah,
so if he's not going to be in that movie, he should be some after credit scene ideally. But it's going to be weird if the after credit scene will lead directly into that, and then the next movie is Spider Man, which seems to be kind of doing its own thing. We're going to talk more about that in
right.
just a moment, but like, I think it'd be kind of weird if that movie has any tie-in to Avengers Doomsday outside of maybe Spider-Man showing up in it, because
Yeah.
before it was rumored that Spider-Man wasn't going to be in it at all because Brand New Day was essentially going to be taking place concurrent to Doomsday.
Hmm.
So now that Doomsday is coming out 6 months after Brand New Day, is Spider-Man going to be in this now? Like, are they? Is it early enough where they can work him in? Because I think you kind of you probably should have a Spider-Man in an Avengers thing, but
Yeah,
yeah,
but yeah, I mean, because it is Spider-Man, they're gonna fit him in. They're gonna find a way to put him in there.
yeah,
Whether it'll make total sense, TBD. But I'm sure they'll make it happen.
yeah, yeah, and I don't know. Like I said, I this honestly makes me more optimistic about the movie specifically. I'm just not happy about the fact that like this got delayed and nothing is going to be taking that May spot or even earlier in the year spot. There might be a show or two that year, but they're not really going to tie into to Doomsday because they kind of stopped doing that. Um, I don't know. Yeah, it's interesting for sure.
Yeah, we'll have to see.
Yeah,
But I mean, I it really depends on how this Fantastic Four movie goes. They find a way to make it work, then it'll be good. But we'll see.
yeah, because Spider-Man 4 is also filming right now, and again, we'll get more into that
Hmm.
just in a moment. But like, if that movie can, if I don't know if it's filming already or what exactly is going on with it, but like maybe they could theoretically move that up to May. Although Spider-Man always has done well in that July spot, so you don't really need to do that. Um, yeah, I don't know. I do think if Fantastic Four is good, and then Spider-Man Brand New Day is also good, that is 3 movies in a row that are all really good, ideally. And then that would definitely build goodwill into Doomsday.
Mm.
Yeah.
Wait. Which is good. I mean, yeah, which is really good because, like, they have that momentum, but it's not just about. I guess it's not for me. It's not just about like, oh, we had good mood, but it's like, but how do the movies interconnect? It's like, I mean, I'm not saying they should be perfectly together, but I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah. I do think that December 2026 spot, that is going to be, I think that is primed to have them do well, especially if there isn't much competition, which there are certain movies that can come out during that time and just do absolutely phenomenally. Every Star Wars movie, Aquaman for some reason, the Avatar movies, like... I just remembered. Currently, Dune Messiah is scheduled to come out the same day as Avengers Doomsday.
No way that holds up.
That is
one of those.
There's 3 possible situations that come out of that. Situation number 1. I think most likely Dune Messiah gets delayed. There's many reasons for this. A lot of the actors on that movie are very busy. They're going to be in other stuff as well. Like half of that cast is also in Christopher Nolan's next movie. Zendaya and actually, I think Zendaya is also in that Christopher Nolan movie. There's a lot of stuff going on with that movie that, like, I'm sure is going to be great, but I wouldn't be surprised if it does get delayed. Option number 2. They come out the same day, and unfortunately, Dune Messiah gets absolutely trounced. I don't want it to. I think Dune Part 2 should have done even better than it did because it was so good. But $700+ million is still a great haul for that movie. But next to the guaranteed $1 billion Avengers thing, sorry, but possibly $2 billion if they play it right. Option number 3, and this may even be the most likely, we might get like a Barbenheimer type situation where people just go see both.
No,
Avengers Doomsday is right there. It's Doomsday December.
Oh gosh, I mean, you're right, but more than likely, I mean, I feel like at this point, even though the MCU is not at its highest of powers ever, per se, there's no way that they just sit there and say, yeah, we'll come out the same day as an Avengers movie. Like, nobody's that crazy. Especially, I mean, I understand Dune is picking up traction, but again, no, that's a poor choice.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. Especially since Dune Part 2 was going to come out in November, and it got delayed due to the writer's strike, but it still did get delayed to March. It did pretty well in March. Maybe they want to try that again, especially now that Avengers Secret Wars isn't coming out that following May. Maybe they could slot themselves in there. I think that maybe could work.
Yeah.
Yeah. But because Secret Wars, actually, this is always going to be the case, but seeing December 2027 for Secret Wars just cemented the fact that 2027 is going to be quite possibly the single greatest year for superhero content of all time. Because not only are we getting Avengers Secret Wars, we're also getting Beyond the Spider-Verse and Batman Part 2 all within the span of 6 months.
We're going to be eating so good.
Yeah, and whatever DC is cooking up outside of that, Like I think a Clayface movie's in production. Who knows if that's actually going to happen? But like we're early enough where I think if assuming Superman does well enough and they can actually start greenlighting more projects, I think if they want to do a you know if they want to do other super if they want to go ahead and start planning a big DC movie for 2027, I think they have time where they can have one that's not just the Batman, which isn't even probably not a part of that universe. So yeah, that's gonna be a good year.
No, it's gonna be a great year. All that stuff's really great stuff. I mean, hopefully Spider-Verse actually comes out. The Batman, especially coming off the whole Penguin thing, is gonna just
Yeah,
be
yeah,
so.
like that would be the year of extremely highly anticipated superhero movies that have been delayed like 3 times each. So yeah, I
Yeah, much needed.
much needed. Like, and that also means that because of Avengers: Secret Wars isn't going to be in theaters at the same time as Spider Verse, that'll give Spider Verse more time to breathe. So, then I was always a little afraid of that in the back of my head. Um, but but yeah, like releasing beginning of June with, as far as I know right now, not much like major competition on either side. Like I think that could be the summer of Spider Man. If they play it right.
Yeah, I mean, pretty much. Yeah, that'd be amazing.
Yeah. All right. Speaking of Spider Man, there's been just a lot of rumors and who knows if any of this is real, but like the main thing I kind of want to zone in on with the reports from Spider-Man: Brand New Day. Two main things. One, we probably have the villain list, or at least some of the villains is going to be in it. And the big ones I think are interesting for a reason I'll get in just a second. The main big villains who are at least rumored right now are going to be they're bringing Scorpion back from the after credit scene of Homecoming. Finally, about time. And Tombstone,
Okay.
which is interesting because two of the main players in Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man were Scorpion and Tombstone. I
Hmm.
think these going to be, at least especially the Tombstone, is going to be a very different incarnation of that character.
Most
But
likely.
it's just and obviously live action is a very different medium. It's just interesting that like you know, I feel, and I know they're it's like it's a Spider-Man movie, so you only have like you know a handful of like big villains to pull from, and you're gonna have some overlap. But those two specifically, I just find it a little funny that those two were part of the climax of that show that just came out. But I think they are a good pair for a live action movie, regardless. So
Yeah, no, I think especially they can be done well. And especially this is supposedly gonna be more of a I don't want to say necessarily
grounded,
street level, but like
yeah,
yeah, like friendly neighborhood street level version. That we're not going to space this time
no,
type Spider-Man movie. Then yeah, Tombstone seems like the perfect person.
yeah, yeah, especially if something with which I don't really know if their Daredevil show is like yes in the MCU, but is it going to be able to cross over with anything else? Because that Daredevil was in No Way Home, but
Yeah.
clearly things in New York were not what happened at the end of from what again I haven't actually seen the show yet. We're working our way up there, but from what I understand, the end of first season of Born Again would make one believe that what's happening in Thunderbolts shouldn't have gone the way that it like things should be feel a little different in New York at that time. That I don't know. like if something happens and there does become this power vacuum, Tombstone kind of coming in, I think could work.
Yeah, no, I definitely see that working.
Yeah. Yeah, like those are at least two of the villains. There's also been rumors of a Mr. Negative. That's only because like
Ooh.
there's like one of the people on the casting list was like a someone in a 30s to 40s Asian man. Like
Oh,
that could be Mr. Negative. That could just be Ned's
anybody.
dad. It could be anybody. Yeah. Um, yeah, like those. Like it's a fool's errand to read into every single one of those. It's like, oh, a 30. It was also in that same call sheet. Oh, a 30 to 50s uh, uh, lady. Like that could be Silver Sable. That could just be a background actress. Like
Yeah,
who's to say?
who knows?
Yeah. But one of the more substantial rumors was that apparently in this movie, Bruce Banner will also play a fairly major role.
Huh. Okay.
Yeah. I don't know what that'll look like, especially considering in this in this Marvel universe, outside of maybe at the funeral scene in Endgame, Hulk and Spider Man haven't actually shared the screen together. They haven't
That's
had
actually
a
a good
conversation
point.
on screen before.
That's actually a good point. I can't remember a single interaction they've had.
Yeah, because Spider Man showed up in the park in Infinity War, and Bruce Banner was he wasn't like with them at that point.
Right.
Um,
He was around, and he wasn't even in his Hulk form.
yeah, so and then shortly after, they all went into space. So it's gonna be interesting knowing that this is like maybe gonna be the first time they interact. There is a very cool comic panel that people are kind of speculating will at least be referenced here, where in a one of the storylines that where that No Way Home like kind of was inspired by, where everyone on the planet's memory was wiped with Peter Parker. Um, Somehow, uh, there's a moment where Peter is talking to Hulk, and Hulk knows who Peter is. And he's like, "What? But everyone lost memory of me." And Hulk is like, "Bruce forgot, but Hulk always remembered." It's like that's cool. I don't know exactly how that
Does
works,
that?
but like
But would that work in the MCU? Because I don't think. Because they didn't even know who Spider Man was. I mean, they didn't really meet. Like
so
he even makes that joke, right? Like,
so if the timeline I'm thinking of is accurate, I believe Bruce would have just been Bruce during the events of No Way Home, because in the after credit scene of Shang-Chi, he was just Bruce. He wasn't Professor Hulk.
right.
He didn't like go back to being Professor Hulk until She-Hulk, which was I think takes place. Yeah, definitely takes place after No Way Home. So
Probably.
if at some point in this movie he fully becomes Hulk again, then something like that panel can work. However, it doesn't have the same impact because Hulk and Peter never met. So, but
Yeah, I
in
don't.
theory, it could work.
I mean, I guess, but I'm like, if they never even had a conversation on screen, I mean, does that really? It's not like Cole keeps a list of everybody's identities. Like, you know what I mean? It's
Yeah,
like, what do you even? I don't know. I don't know. It's
yeah,
we'll
and
see. We'll see. We'll see.
obviously there is something to be said about the fact that it's just a little funny that every single Spider-Man movie there's like some other Avenger with him, whether it be Iron Man, Nick Fury, Doctor Strange, or now Hulk. Apparently, um, he can't just be on his own. But maybe that's part of the deal that Disney and Sony have, where it's like you can make we'll make your Spider-Man movie as long as we can throw one of our characters in there too. Like maybe that's just what they have to do
Maybe, yeah.
because they can't make a Hulk movie. They gotta throw him in, somewhere else every chance they can.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, fit them in when you can.
Yeah. Um, yeah, someone made a suggestion that maybe he, as Professor Hulk, maybe he is like a teacher at the college that Peter's going to. Like that could maybe work.
Maybe.
Yeah.
But how would he get? Never mind. I mean, I don't know. I mean, they could somehow figure a way, but we'll see.
Yeah. Um, yeah, it's one of those things. Just like when the No Way Home rumors are coming out, it's like this seems cool, but I'll just wait and see what form it actually takes.
Right.
Because like I don't know, like the Spider-Man specifically, it seems like there's just always rumors that come out about stuff happening in that movie, and I just we'll we'll see. We'll see when it comes out next year.
Yeah.
Um, all right. Very briefly, uh, Jessica Jones has been seen on set of the Daredevil Born Again season 2.
Nice.
Yeah. I didn't watch the Jessica Jones show, but I did watch The Defenders. Not a great show, but I liked her in that. Her interactions with Daredevil were all really good. Just I liked her character, like her outfit, just everything about her I really liked. So I like her showing back up here.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it always adds to the lore. It's all good.
Yeah. They want to get that Luke Cage back too. That'd be cool.
Yes.
Yes.
Please do.
Yeah. And like I did not like Danny Rand at all in that show, and I think a lot of people are kind of feeling the same way about it. So, but if they want to give him another chance, they like I'm sure he's down for it. It could be a situation where there have been times before where an actor just didn't work out, and then like Andrew Garfield Spider-Man, when he showed up in No Way Home, he worked really well in that. So, it it could work.
Yeah.
All right. Moving away from superheroes for just a moment here. It was announced today that Pokemon Legends ZA will be releasing on October 16th of this year.
I think it's safe to say you'll be taking some time away for that.
Well, yeah. Every time there's new Pokemon content, I generally like to take that day off.
Yeah. Essential.
What's interesting about this release date is ever since 2014, there's been a new Pokemon game or new DLC or like new. Almost every year, there's some new Pokemon content, and pretty much every year since 2014, those new Pokemon games have come out the Friday before Black Friday in November of that year.
Mm.
And then this one is coming out in October of this year. And I find that very interesting for two reasons. One, this actually kind of mirrors the release date of Pokemon X and Y, which are also set in the Kalos region, which this game is based in. Those also came out in October of 2013. And I would not be surprised if they specifically tried to release this on the Thursday closest to, I think that was October 12th, 2013, or it's like somewhere around there. I wouldn't be surprised if they tried to get as close as possible to that release date, just because you're going back to Kalos, around the same time of the year. I like the vibes of that. But also, a lot of people, myself included, were just kind of assuming that Pokemon Legends Arceus would be just like Pokemon Legends ZA was just going to be like the big Switch / Switch 2 game of this holiday season. And with it coming out in October, that seems to not really be the case anymore. So that either means Metroid Prime 4 is going to take that November slot, which I think is fair. That game has been, worked on and highly anticipated for years now, so it it deserves that spot to shine. Or there's some other major game that Nintendo is hiding from us that they haven't announced yet that is going to take that spot.
Mm.
I don't know what that could be. Like maybe a 3D Mario or something. Although I don't think they need to throw that out just yet. Like I think this year is big enough on its own for what we know of so far. I think they can save 3D Mario for next year. But I don't know. They this could either just be a known quantity that just is guaranteed that spot, or something major that they haven't announced yet, which they've done before. They've held back on major announcements until like a couple of months before it comes out, and then it's like, oh, November, like okay, so we'll see. Either way, very cool.
Yeah. Fun to say, it comes out sooner than we expect, which is great. And then, yeah, I mean, like, there's gonna be a giant game for, the December holiday season. But
Yes.
what will it be? We'll see.
Who knows? Like especially with this being the first holiday for Switch 2, they want something like they're gonna want some major system seller that Black Friday.
Hmm.
Like as much as I'm looking forward to the Hyrule Warriors Age of Imprisonment, I don't think it's that kind of game. I think it's gonna be fun.
Mm-mm.
It's gonna sell decently well, but it's not that kind of system seller.
Right.
Metroid Prime 4, that is a big game. It is definitely a major release. However, Metroid games don't have nearly as high of a sales ceiling as other series from Nintendo. Obviously, that could change with this game, with just how massive the install base of the Switch 1 is, with it also getting a Switch 2 edition. Like, this could be the time for Metroid to, like, finally pop off and be super successful, but I don't know if Nintendo can bank on that, so I don't know. Like, before the Switch came out, I was of the opinion that a new Animal Crossing was going to be announced to either come out this year or early in the Switch 2's life. You know
Mm-hmm.
that's the kind of mega hit, you know, sell through the life of the system type of game that could work this holiday. But we'll just have to see.
See.
Yeah, yeah, and I can't wrap my head around the fact that we're a week away from the Switch 2 coming out. Like, it's coming out next Thursday.
Yeah.
I've been anticipating this day for the past 8 years. Not that I haven't, I've loved the Switch. I have almost no complaints with the games that have come out, with just the way Nintendo has handled the entire generation. But I'm always looking forward to that next new thing, and I've always, throughout the entire generation, I've always said, I hope the next system is just a better Switch. No, you don't need new random gimmick or new, just as long as it's a more powerful Switch. That's all I need, and that's what I'm getting. So, yeah, I'm excited.
Hmm. Yeah, dude. I mean, it's literally. I mean, it's coming out next week. I mean, what more can you say? It's huge stuff. It's time.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so speaking of things that I'm excited for that are coming out very soon, the runtimes for both Superman and Fantastic Four have both been revealed, and both of those movies are roughly 2 hours long.
Okay.
I am all here for that.
Yes. Yes. We don't need 2 hours and 40 minutes of unnecessary side plot info, and then you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that's just like red flag.
Like, not every movie needs to be 2 hours and 20 minutes, there can be really good movies that are 2 hours and 20 minutes. Over the Memorial Day weekend, my brother and I went to go see the movie Sinners. That's a 2 hour and 20 minute movie, including credits, but like, it didn't feel that long. Like, the beginning was like technically, if you could consider the beginning like a little slow technically, but I was still engaged with the characters and what they were setting up. So like, I was drawn in the entire time. So that way, like when it really got going, it just flowed. So 2 hours, well over 2 hour movies can work if they're paced properly. But also, you know, movies that are kind of short can also feel like something's missing or something is, you know, clearly constrained or they didn't have time to fit it in. Like I feel Thor: Love and Thunder probably could have used another 10 minutes to flesh it out a little bit. Same with Doctor Strange 2. The last two Venom movies were also weirdly short for some reason. Like, not that I necessarily wanted any of those movies to like be that much longer. I just think 2 hours in this day and age is a good sweet spot for, especially for superhero movies, especially for something like Superman and Fantastic Four. Honestly, where like you already know their origin, you don't need a lot of time setting up stuff. You can just go in, do what it needs to do, be good, and get out.
Mm. Yeah, no, and I feel like that's really like movie to movie. It'll very much depend, but like I don't know. I feel like 2 hours is a solid amount because again, you don't want it to be a quick hour 30 in and out, with no time for character development. But you also don't want it to be like 2:45. Why are we still on the farm? You know what I mean? Stuff like it's
Yeah.
like those scenes that go on too long or definitely didn't need to be in the movie, and you're just kind of like, man, remember when this was a Superman movie?
Uh huh.
And not like, oh man, we need a 30-minute Lois and Jimmy subplot that's like, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, because one of my biggest kind of fears with this movie is that the knockoff Justice League with Mister Terrific, Hot Girl, and Green
mm,
Lantern. I was kind of afraid that they would be in a lot more of the movie than they need to be.
yeah.
But I think James Gunn is very good at balancing ensemble casts. Look at Guardians. Also, like with it being 2 hours, unless it's just horribly mismanaged, which again I don't think is going to happen. I think this is indicative of it's going to be focusing more on Superman. These other characters are just kind of be there to support the plot. It is going to mainly be Superman because with it being 2 hours, that is kind of the point where like if scenes with Guy Gardner do take 4, 5, 6+ minutes, you're like, oh, that's a semi decent chunk of your movie that's just Guy Gardner talking, like.
hmm
So I hope that I trust James Gunn to do compelling and funny dialogue, whatever, but we'll see if those kinds of scenes do crop up and make the movie feel like it should have been, it should have been longer, but
mm.
you know. Kind of springboarding off that, it has been so frustrating being a Superman fan on Twitter the last couple of weeks because just the vitriol that certain fans on Twitter have just been spewing at this movie has been honestly exhausting. Like, I completely understand where Snyder Bros are coming from. I understand that from their side from their point of view, DC just completely, they didn't listen to them, they screwed them over, they feel betrayed by this, studio, these characters that they love, and I understand that. But when every single tweet I see about this movie is from these like 3 or 4 Twitter accounts that are just nothing but rage bait and negativity and just making fun of actors' appearances and just just spewing hate for no reason, and then try to play victim as if like, oh, like actually you deserve this because they mess with the franchise that I love, yet they're making a new movie about the character that you kind of love. I, it's getting too much for me. Have you experienced any of that? Like, I don't know how much you really are on social media or whatever, but are you getting that feeling?
Yeah, bro. I mean, I feel like it's always that way. Like, I mean, not just with like specifically DC, like, oh, Zack Snyder would never. Oh, this movie's gonna be terrible because, oh, this and that. Superman's weak, and Snyder Superman would never get beat up, and like, I mean, that's just standard at this point. I mean, that everything Zack Snyder did is somehow amazing, and everything he didn't
Yep.
do is somehow terrible, which is not how anything works. But also, I think that's just the culture we live in now. I mean, there are accounts that just exist just for like hate reactions
Mm-hmm.
because, negative clicks are still clicks and
Yeah.
people are just trying to run the algorithm, et cetera, et cetera. So they'll say at a pot, it's with
Yeah.
all types of movies and everything. So, I mean, it's just, I kind of do my best to ignore that stuff. And because even Thunderbolts, like, some people say it's really good, some people hate it. It's not making that much money, so they're like, "Oh, it's objectively a bad movie because it didn't make that much money." And I'm like, that really
Yep.
doesn't determine how good a movie is, but okay. And
Yeah.
it kind of is just something you kind of just, I don't know. I guess I kind of just try to ignore the
Mm.
talking heads on the internet because I mean, who cares?
Yeah. Uh, but unfortunately, because I am on Twitter way more than I should be, I have been just absorbing this content. I'll call it for weeks now, and I have been kind of compiling a list of all just the sum of just the absolutely insane things these people have been complaining about. Um, the possibly the single funniest one was uh, uh, DC announced that they are going to be doing a sweepstakes, giving away a handful of free tickets to people who join this free sweepstakes. And people on that side were like, "Oh, so they already know the movie's going to flop, so they're giving away tickets." It's like, first of
What?
all, if they know the movie's going to flop, they're not going to give away tickets to people who were gonna buy tickets. Like, they're not gonna lose money on, like, what? That doesn't make any sense. But also, almost every big movie ever does a sweepstake like this. Like, literally, people were pointing out that Batman v Superman did a sweepstakes like this. Exactly, the
Yeah,
exact same language. It's
yeah.
very common that movies do that. um, so it's just stuff like that. Also, surprise, surprise, a Superman movie has toys. They're selling toys, and there's toy commercials for this Superman movie that is at least going to be partially marketed at children because he's Superman.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, is that not obvious? I mean,
I
when
don't
has
know,
any Superman thing ever not had toys?
right? And I've seen people directly compare these $200+ Doomsday action figure from BVS to a $10 toy of the kaiju he'll fight in this movie, and be like, oh, this thing is so ugly compared to like this extremely high effort model that they just didn't make this time. Like, it's they're for very different purposes. Same with specific Superman uh, toys. Like, yeah, of course the $10 action figure is gonna look way less detailed than the $200 metal like metal statue, like, and then they try to be like, oh look, there's all of these toys in the store and no one's bought them yet, like, even because they because, because you got there at 8 a.m. and took that picture before anyone bought them. Like, I don't know, maybe they restocked. Like they just can't. Just in. Essentially, it's so easy, I think, just to ignore stuff that you don't like, but instead they just decide to look like an idiot for no reason. Like, a couple of more. You mentioned Superman being weak. Like, yeah, I think it's kind of a staple of Superman to get kind of beat up first, and then, by the end of the episode or the end of the action sequence, actually win. Like, every single Superman the Animated Series episode, every single Justice League episode was, he got through a wall just to show how strong the villain is, and then he came back and won. Like, that's just how those things go.
I mean, that's kind of just, I mean, that's most Superman content in general.
Mm-hmm.
There's very few Superman stories where that doesn't happen. The only Superman stories that doesn't happen are the ones where he's just OP, and that's, like, the point.
Yeah. Like, they're complaining about him, like, shielding his face from the fire coming at him. But then when you bring up a similar scene when in BVS where Superman is blocking the bullets Batman is firing at him, they don't say anything. It's like, oh, or if they do say anything, it's like, oh, Superman didn't know what was in those bullets. But at that point, he didn't even know that kryptonite existed. He wouldn't know to be scared of. So that's not a good argument.
And my thing too is, like, I feel like it humanizes him to, even though he's obviously bulletproof, to still kind of put his hands up to stuff like that. Yeah. It's like, I think it's just like, if you're raised as a regular person, the reaction to fire, whether or not you are a Kryptonian or otherwise, if you're raised as a human, you're not just like, fire, cool. Like, exactly. I feel like that makes him more human.
Like, that's one of my favorite aspects of Superman, is that even though he is this all-powerful alien, he still acts human. That's something that I appreciate a lot about the character, and I think this movie so far has been doing pretty well. But in that scene from the trailer where he gets very, what's the word? Like, indignant, very, like, emotional over the fact that he feels he was doing good, he was doing the right thing, and he's getting this pushback. People are calling him, like, aggressive, and it looked like just like he's actually showing emotion. And you're saying you're trying to paint it in this other light, and, like, that's, if, like, when we have these values installed into you as a small boy, especially one who does have these abilities, and you go use them, like, I think that's the natural human reaction to not understand why people would want you not to do that. Whatever. They're being annoyed at Crypto. I love Crypto. I think Crypto should have been in a Superman thing before now. They're, not only are they complaining about him being in the movie, they're complaining about him not looking like he does from the comics, even though this character has been around for 70 years, and, like, he looked like different dog breeds throughout history. So, and people have even, like, shown screenshots of Crypto kind of looking like he does now, so it's fine. And probably the most frustrating one so far, and this happened yesterday, is there was, from what I understand, there was some random website that seems to only post, like, negative articles about this movie. That seems to be the only thing I could find about this website, that mentioned that the movie is currently going through major reshoots They're bringing in a new editor. They're bringing in a new composer. WB is cracking down on this movie and changing it from how it used to be. And they're like losing confidence in James Gunn somehow. All the test screenings were terrible. And there's no sources. There's no, every other article, every other tweet that references these reshoots and re-edits all reference back to this article. And then James Gunn had to specifically comment about it. It's yeah, we're doing just some pickup shots. It's normal for movies at this stage when you're in the editing bay and just see some pieces here and there that you just, you mean either need to do ADR or just establishing shots, or we're just doing pickup shots just to slightly enhance the movie a little more. That's all it is. But of course, they're running with this narrative of every person on, throughout the entire process hates the movie, and they're Frankensteining it back together just to make it watchable. It's no. Every movie ever, every big movie ever has done this. Deadpool and Wolverine in May of 2024 had reshoots 2 months before the movie came out. Same with Spider-Man. In fact, Spider-Man No Way Home, it was apparently in the editing bay up until the premiere of the movie. It wasn't done until minutes before the movie was shown to the public. Same with Rise of Skywalker. Same with another example. Fantastic Four right now is actually doing reshoots so they can film the after credit scene. Same with Thunderbolts. The after credit scene of that was filmed in April and it came out in May. It is completely fine for studios to do things that movies have been doing for years with this movie.
Yeah, but they're kind of, like you said, they're feeding off of that narrative and also using ideas that necessarily, the average person might not know if they didn't look into it. It's this is a very normal thing, but you might not know that just hearing a out of context, clickbaity thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but because these voices are the loudest, even though it's not true, there might be a sizable part of the population that's interested in the movie, sees all of this, turmoil going on, and either might not watch it or might go in with already negative connotations about it because all these people are being super negative, and I just don't understand that. All of the Zack Snyder Superman or DC movies I always went into with an open mind. Even the Snyder Cut, we've got a record saying we hope it's good. I really the entire time I was I didn't think it would exist, but once it actually started to exist, I legitimately was for their sake, for the sake of DC, I hope it's good, but we'll see. And then I ended up not really liking it, but I do think it has merits, but it just wasn't for me. But I did have an open mind. These people just refuse, even though James Gunn literally came off of making 4 good superhero movies in a row, and then Peacemaker is also pretty solid. Why do you have this? Why do you insist that the movie's going to be bad, even though the most recent work that he's done has been nothing but pretty good so far? I don't get it.
People are just trying to get reactions.
Speaking of which, there was one guy in particular who's been just the biggest champion of Snyder that this entire process. Even back when the restore the Snyderverse, release Snyder Cut, he's been tooting this horn for years now. He had this Twitter poll, and the poll just said, what movie are you going to be seeing in July? It was the new Jurassic World, Fantastic Four, Superman, or Man of Steel at home. Because apparently there's this big campaign spearhead by this guy being we need to show DC that this is the kind of movie that we need to watch. Everyone should watch Man of Steel on HBO Max the day that movie comes out, so that way people know the need to make this movie get more views than that movie. It's that's not going to happen. Anyway, So he released that poll of those four movies with the clear feeling that like, oh, because my audience likes Man of Steel and or hates Superman, Man of Steel is going to be really high, or Superman is going to be low. The other movies are going to be high, showing people that no one wants to see it, even though it's just a big echo chamber. But instead, what happened was Superman got 66% of the votes. And then within like 2 hours, he went through all five stages of, or all, yeah, five stages of grief with like his just tweets after that. It was like, oh, people are, this got run by bots, or oh, people like, pass this around to the other group that I feel doesn't really exist. The people who are like, they call them James Gunn cultists, which you're just projecting at that point. Like, oh, this was picked up by those people, and I guess they're louder than your people. You just proved a point that you didn't want to prove there, but okay. like if your echo chamber isn't big enough to circumvent the apparently much bigger group of people who are excited for this movie, but also with bots that aren't real. Okay, and then like by the end of all that, he's like, I'm like, this poll wasn't meant to prove any point. I was just interested in what people were wanting to see. I am happy for anybody who watches any movie this July. It's like, no, that's not what you were doing.
Right?
Like, at least own it. Like, at least have some kind of introspection, or just watch Man of Steel. Like, you don't have to like. You don't have to try to dog on this other movie that isn't even out yet. You don't even know if it's good or not, just because you like this other movie. I personally could not possibly understand having that mindset about anything. Maybe that's just me.
I mean, clearly they tried to make a statement that clearly did not go the way they thought, but they try to bow out gracefully. It's fine.
Yeah. I just need to get that off my chest. Like, I'm just gonna be very glad when the movie comes out, whether it's good or bad, whatever. I'm just ready for it to be over, ready to move it out. I'm hoping it's good.
Mm-hmm.
This is James Gunn's first in his modern era. Maybe it's his first big flop. I don't know. Maybe it could be a mess. Maybe, like, I don't know, everything, even from the leaks that these people are also dunking on, I think they seem kind of cool. Not that I'm, like, delving into them, but everything I'm seeing so far, like, I don't know, it seems like Superman to me.
Yeah?
Yeah. So, anyway, go that in 2 months. We'll see.
I'm super excited.
All right. Anything else you want to bring up or discuss before we sign off?
I'm good.
All right. So with that, we will see you all next time.
Take care.